Welcome back. Let us continue with the second question. The second question expected you to evaluate the impact of one of the TQM elements identified in question 1. Now, this is how you evaluate the impact. You can provide only positives or negatives only, or you can mix by providing positives and negatives. Now, what are the positives? For continuous improvement to processes and systems. Remember, we've identified this from our question. So our question 1, we identified 2 elements. The first one was continuous improvement to processes and systems. What is the advantage? Is that large businesses have more resources to check on quality of performance in each business unit. And then the negative is now large manufacturing processes can complicate the quality control. So that is an approach you should apply when you're looking into the positives and negatives, or provide positives only or negatives only. And then we move into another element that was identified. This was your total client satisfaction. It was identified. But then now you're expected to evaluate the impact. So what are the positives of implementing this for large businesses? That large businesses use customer service to monitor customer satisfaction or analyze customer needs. Then the negative Then what is the negative? Employees who seldomly meet customers often do not have a clear idea of what will satisfy their needs. Hence, we have now this as a negative impact to say, yes, employees and the organizations want to achieve total client satisfaction, but now employees seldomly meet these clients who actually want to be satisfied. Then we have another question. This is another scenario which we are expected to read and answer the questions that follow. We have Grow Fast Enterprise. Grow Fast Enterprise specializes in recruitment services. Basically, they look for candidates who are suitable for different businesses. They ensure they recruit the best candidates for various businesses. And then Grow Fast Enterprise Management introduced quality cycles to discuss ways to improve how they do things. Then they also share responsibility for quality output amongst employees. Question 1, quote 2 ways in which TQM can reduce the cost of quality. That's number 1. Then number 2, explain to Grow Fast Enterprise other ways in which TQM can reduce the cost of quality. Now, with the first one, you're expected to quote 2 ways. Remember, the first sentence here talks about what they do. They offer recruitment services. There's no TQM there. There's no ways in which TQM can reduce quality there. And then they ensure that they recruit the best candidates for various businesses. So again, with that part, there's no answer there. But when we look into the idea that the Grow Fast Enterprise Management introduced quality cycles to discuss ways to improve how they do things, then we have an answer there. So this is what you should quote. That is the first sentence you should quote. The first one is the idea that GFE Management introduced quality cycles to discuss ways to improve how they do things. That is one. And then another one you quote, they also share the responsibility for quality output amongst employees. That is the correct one. But then when you look into they recruit the best candidate, that one we will consider to be a distractor. It is there to confuse you, to check if you really know what they are talking about, to check if you know your ways in which TQM can reduce the cost of quality. So they also share responsibility for quality output amongst workers. Now, we move to explaining other ways. So explain to grow fast enterprise, other ways. Here you're expected to explain other ways in which they can reduce the cost of quality beside the ways that are on the scenario. And this is for you to know that some aspects should not be repeated. Whatever that was quoted in the scenario should not be repeated. So scheduling of activities to eliminate duplication of tasks. Number 2, training employees at all levels so that everyone understands their role in quality management. And then another one is to talk about the common errors now, to say learners confuse ways in which TQM can reduce the cost of quality with the benefits of a good quality management system. So this should not be confused. When we're talking about ways in which the business can reduce the cost of quality, we are talking about making sure that in whatever they do, they reduce the cost. That would help the business to make more and more profit. And then let us look into the last question. The last question says to you, suggest to businesses the application of any 2 steps of the PDCA model to improve the quality of their products. Now, this is how it is applied. You say plan and do. You can either say plan or do, or you can either say check or act as needed. So you choose, because the question is looking for 2 steps. So the first step, to plan. What are we talking about with planning? The planning process. The business should identify the problem. 2, what are we talking about? The business should implement the change on a smaller scale, if you choose those 2. If you choose check, what do we mean by check? You check whether the process is working effectively or is it making the difference, and then act as needed. You ensure that all departments implement the improvement across so that the business becomes successful. So those are ways in which the PDCA model can be applied. So make sure that you know, and make sure that this assessment basically guides you on how you should write and prepare yourself when it comes to your sessions and assessments. So with that being said, let us take a short break.